Hello VOD people, I hope you are having a good day, you've had food, water, everything you need to get done. I need to remember to turn on Do Not Disturb, so I am not disturbed for the duration of stream. Today starts the return of several things, my old stream schedule for one, but mostly. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I feel like Saturday, Sunday, a good 7 PM PST ain't too bad. Hello Billy Bob, welcome. We're gonna be taking a little look-see-loo around PSMP and see what all is left to get done. I know I still want to decorate a little bit of my base. I don't know if we're actually gonna do that. And at some point, I might just save this for next season, honestly. I want to redo the floor's lava, but I might just save that as a bigger project for next season and really get into the redstone of that. But it's been good, it's been good. I've been spending today, one, getting the video edited for tomorrow, and I got it all done, because Brain was taking forever and it didn't want to do anything. I was supposed to finish the supercut of it yesterday. I did about 5-10 minutes, and Brain said, no, I'm too bored, I can't do this anymore. So I finished my current what was my current hyperfixation, which was the frickin' row citizens. I got everything I could possibly want to get done in that game. I finished another house, completely decorated the entire thing, and I maxed out the barista job. So I'm hoping I don't ever have to go back to that game. So I finished the hyperfixation, it's moved on to Skyrim, so I was playing Skyrim half and half today while I got some editing done. The supercut only took me an hour, and then I quickly went through and something that's helped me a lot, and it helps with transitioning the footage as well, especially because it's usually, let me turn this down a little bit, I can't think. Turn down the live music. Putting in the little Minecraft click sound effect, the little boot that you'd usually hear, it, one, helps transition between, oh, this is a new set of clips, two, for me coming as a writer, this is a way for me to basically paragraph break the video. And three, it makes it really easy for me to go back and do music. So I did all the supercut, I put in the little sound effects like, okay, this is a paragraph break, this is a paragraph break, there's a new thing happening here, there's a new thing happening there. And then played a shit ton of Skyrim. I went around... I left myself at a fantastic save, actually. The last time I was playing, I could only play for a few minutes. And I'm like, okay, let me do this little bit of a quest. I have the Anniversary Edition, and one of those is Champions of the Imperial and Stormcloaks. And so I'm like, you know, I'm just gonna go with the Imperials, let me go do this real quick. And I forgot they give you a bunch of stuff. I'm in survival mode. I am also a hoarder. So that doesn't work out very well. Survival mode cuts down a lot of your personal storage. Whenever I switch from survival to normal Skyrim, just turning off the survival mode, I get back maybe about 200 storage. It's like 100 or 150, something like that. Because I currently have like, I think my max is 305 if I'm not wearing something that increases my stamina or storage. And I'm already wearing something that is, actually. That's a lie, I have a backpack. So it's probably more like 250. But I didn't realize I was over encumbered, and then I couldn't hand anything off to my followers. I'd already handed something off to my followers, so... yeah, I had a backpack across Skyrim. So I left, I tried to turn off survival mode, hoping maybe I could just take a cart real quick and I'll pay the price, I'll store 10,000 gold somewhere. I couldn't, it just wouldn't let me. I think I might have still been over encumbered was the problem. So I'm like, okay, let me grab Glade, my horse. Let me grab Glade, we're gonna backpack across Skyrim, and I get from Solitude, and I'm not even at Dragon Bridge yet, and I see one of the rarest encounters you can get in Skyrim. The Headless Horseman. I've seen him, I think, twice. This, I think, is the third or fourth time I've ever seen him in my years of playing, and I haven't seen him for a good couple of years. But I had to leave off there, so I'm like, okay, let me save. And I log on today, I'm like, right, I'm with the Headless Horseman, and I'm chilling out with him. And when I found him, he wasn't on his horse. So I'm following him like, you know what, I gotta go this way anyway. I'm gonna see how long I can actually follow him. And I want to see if I can help him get back on the horse. We get all the way almost to... We get like halfway to Rorikstead from Dragon Bridge. There's a little like toll bridge bandit camp about the halfway mark, pretty far down the river, just before you hit the mountains that go up to Rorikstead. And I managed to get ahead and I stopped the horse enough on the bridge, because the horse, if you get in the way of their pathing, because it is just AI, if you get in the way of their pathing, then the horse will stop for a moment. You're like, okay, recalculating, what do I do now? Okay, I go that way. And then you can stop them again. I was able to do this enough that the horsemen could catch up and actually finally get back on the horse. And so we backpacked the rest of the way across Skyrim, splitting off, I think, a little before Whiterun. And I was also doubly happy because I've done a fair amount of quests on this save, and I'm currently going around questing. This save is a survival legendary, so you can imagine how much fun I'm having. Genuinely, I am having fun with it, though. It poses a really fun challenge, and I'm both overpowered and also as fragile as a wet piece of paper. But I've done a fair amount of quests, and I'm also doing... Oh, yeah. I'm doing A through Z challenges. Basically, I'm just trying to kill all the NPCs in alphabetical order. I have 2 more NPCs before I kill Alduin, so that's gonna be fun. But I've ignored that for the moment in favor of getting questing done. I'm currently level 45, and with Anniversary Edition and my configuration stuff, I have a fantastic quest called The Cause. And with it being survival, I found the best build for me is, of course, Sneak Archer, but not just that. I do Conjuration. I specifically use a conjured bow, and I also have a summon that I like to use when I'm doing this. So I basically have a portable follower and a portable weapon that doesn't have any carry weight, and I never have to worry about carrying arrows, because arrows take so much more storage when you're in survival mode. As I went about all the questing and I'm clearing out my quest book and also trying to level up, I've missed a part of this already. I do Conjuration build, and with the Cause quest line, which has to do with not Dawnstar, Dawn something. Somerset Dawn, I don't know. It's a Daedric quest. It gives you my favorite summon, which is Aelid Lich. If you are a low-level Conjuration, it gives you like 5 levels of Conjuration. I love him so much. And later down the line, you actually go into Oblivion, because of course these mofos opened a portal to Oblivion. And in Oblivion, you can get a spell book to summon a Daedric horse. So it's basically this big old black and red magma horse. And I love him. And he's a portable horse. It's great. But you only get this quest at 46. It was nice playing with you guys. Yeah. I'll explain a bit more about that in a second. Oh yeah, the part I'm forgetting, and I'm trying to run back to. I'm doing a bunch of quests, so I can get all that out, and I could also get to level 46, right? One of the quests I did, if you've been in Falkreath long enough, you know of the werewolf that's down in the jail. You can free him, and there's a mini Daedric quest with that. I say mini because it's mostly quick fetch quest, and then you go do this big old dungeon, and then you're done. And I chose to actually work with Sinding, which is the werewolf that you save. You can either hunt him, or you can help him. Or you can do both. That is an option as well. I chose to help him and also let him live, because I much preferred the Ring of Hersine over some pelt or something that he gives. I don't remember what the other option is. I never heard Sinding. I'd much rather get the ring. Sinding, apparently, I didn't know this. I'm backpacking across Whiteruns all the way over to Whiterun. We're past Rorikstead at this point. I'm backpacking with the Headless Horseman, and I see a werewolf and I have to do a quick save so I can actually continue following the horseman later, and get off my horse and run over to him. It's sending! You can find him again! I didn't know that he would just be chilling out, running around. It's so cool that he actually sticks around the area. You can't actually talk to him, but he's there in the world, and that's good enough for me. And then I continued backpacking all the way from Solitude to Riften for the house I have there. I have a house, not the normal house you'd have, it's a nether content creation thing. There's a house you can buy in the Ratway with Anniversary Edition. It's one of my favorites. And like, you know what? I'm gonna put all of my stuff in one house. And my favorite house, even though it's slightly more annoying, because it takes forever to actually get to the house itself, is Bloodshill Manor. This is a house you can get pretty early on, but it's annoying as hell if you're not leveled. And it's called, you get an invitation for a dinner. This house is themed after the Vampires DLC, Dawn Guard DLC, I think it is. And it's fantastic. I love it. It literally just looks like the interior of a vampire house. There's one main hallway. To your immediate left, you have a little smithing area and like a fake jail cell. And also on the left is a kitchen with everything you could need. Directly in front of you is a trophy room, big old trophy room, full of about everything you could want. And then on the right is your big old room that has like a staff enchanter, has all of this, has all of that, has an area for your weapons, area for wardrobe, has a couple coffins that are pretty cool. And there's also a kid's room. And so it's really cool. And there's a little garden in the front. And it's beautiful when you enter the place even. My only qualm with it is how far you have to walk into the house to actually use the house. As you walk into the cave, this is all the way up at a peak of a mountain, near Dawnstar. So if you don't have some sort of fast travel, I have a mod so I can fast travel in survival mode. It still affects me. It'll take a bunch of magicka because it'll drain me, it'll make me tired, it'll take a bunch of my stamina because it makes me hungry. If I teleport to a bad area like the cold, it takes some of my health, which I think Skyrim should just implement anyway. I feel like that's very much so worth it. So, fast traveling up, getting up to the house alone is annoying. It is a free house, but it is annoying. Technically free. You have to fight 2 gargoyles and like 4 vampires for it. But it is what it is. And so, I get to Riften, I grab all my stuff, and then I slowly backpack all the way over to Bloodshill Manor as well. So, Solitude, Riften, and then Dawnstar, basically. And about a little after Whiterun, just about as I got to Whiterun, just parted with the Headless Horseman, I'm like, I'm tired of horsebacking, this is so boring. It was only fun because I was with the Headless Horseman. I'm a werewolf. And it's my favorite way to backpack across Skyrim when I'm over-encumbered. Because werewolves don't get over-encumbered. They don't even realize that you have anything, period. So you can just turn into werewolf mode, and then run across Skyrim, and bonus points, you get the werewolf perks if you go around killing stuff. So I went on a murder spree across everything I could. And it was fantastic. I almost got into a heap of trouble in Riften because I accidentally got a little too close to some of the guards, so I had to run away, wait a couple hours, and then come back. 1, to get out of werewolf mode, 2, to lose the aggro. But all in all, it was fairly fun. I am loving it. Currently, I'm still doing a couple other quests. I'm so close to 45. I legendaried Sneak just so I could get more levels again. I'm not legendarying Archery until I redo my Sneak. Because I do have 100% Archery, I'm tempted to just keep it and keep legendarying the Sneak. Because that'd just be easier. But my Skyrim rant and how I've been spending my day aside, I did get editing done, so there will be a video tomorrow, and depending on how this video does, I might take the 3 of them and make like a little movie thing out of it, and then maybe post that either main channel or second channel. I'm thinking second channel. And I think that's about it, so we're gonna hop on the server. I have not moved a muscle since the last time we streamed, apparently. So I logged on at my hibachi. Or hibachi. I keep saying hibachi. I realized when I was trying to type it out for something or other, I'm like, that's wrong. It's heh, nah. We did a bunch of storage last time and started on something over here. I don't know if I'll ever actually continue this. I might. I don't have the energy in me to actually do it. I'm not going to bother about it too much. It is what it is. I'm curious. I want to know how much iron I have in here. Oh wait, I'm not going to see the iron anymore. Right. It's over here now. That's not too much. Well, that depends on your definition. But it's not as much as I thought. There's not been a lot of people on. It's been really low. Because we've had talks on and off for about the last month, actually, of when we were going to do Season 2 and Season 3. Or when we were ending Season 2 and when we're going to do Season 3. So let's get upstairs. I need to find me a bed. Do I have a bed on me? Yes. Get away. Get away. Yeah, I always forget those are around. Ah, boop. So Season 3 is up and running, and I spent today getting that going, changing out the player list, so I think we basically have what is going to be the player list for Season 3 right now, as of the Discord server. Let me double check that list, so I'm saying this correctumly. We have myself, Misty, Axralia, Skip will be staying. A new person to the ring. Platinum Beard. And then Wolfie / Ellie Grace, Josh the Rock. And we have downsized from that, so that has been downsized. I'm not sure if Lilac's going to return. We're still trying to talk it over. She's not sure if she will. She wants to actually be able to put the time into the server, and I completely respect that. And we downsized, so Penguin is not going to be part of it. Either Penguin, actually. Penguin and then Oops All Penguins are not going to be part of Season 3. Billy Bob, aka Racecar, aka Jack, whatever username, is not going to be part of Season 3. And Love L, which I don't think ever really showed up on any given streams, is not going to be part of it either. I'm not sure how much screen time this area has gotten. I redid the inside of this. I think it very briefly showed up for a few seconds in some video, but I might have cut that out. So anyway, I gutted the inside of my starter base so it's a meeting room. And I changed out the kitchen so it looks like a kitchen, or a modernized kitchen. American Western kitchen, we're going with that. And then this is still here. Do I still in my bathhouse? I didn't change the bathhouse at all. I don't think too much has changed that I've last updated on. Because all of this is still as it is. I never wanted things there. I'm really excited for what we're gonna try and go and do for Season 3. We're gonna be just talking about official start day in a few days here. I'm just looking around to see what there is to look at this point. I don't think there's much of anything, because I know I still have my room in here. But this one's empty. Because Axralia moved into Lilac's base. Is there any big chance I would be able to join Season 3? But I understand if not. I want to give the opportunity to more people, but also have it just be a much smaller community base. So it's a little easier for me to keep track of all the players and keep us all talking and alive. It makes events easier too, because I want to, for Season 3, be doing events more often. So tomorrow's talks begin with when are we doing a start date of Season 3, and depending on how all that works out, I would also be talking with people of like, hey, I kind of want to put forth this idea, something we did in Season 1 for a while. You know what we're gonna do? You know what we can do? Because I never did it. I have yet to make a brush for the suspicious gravel and sand. I have 2 different places that I have saved for that. two different places in the world. There's one way up here that I have saved, Trail Ruins. And there's one way out here that I don't think I have. No, I have it saved. It's right down there. So I have two different Trail Ruins we can go check out. Something we did a lot in Season 1 that was really fun to pull off was events, which is what started Pillager Ploy. I've been playing a lot of modded, so I might have changed. I might have different mouse settings now. But for some reason, my mouse is really fast, and I don't know why. Mouse. I think it's my actual computer mouse. I have it really low anyway, but it's just like going crazy. Okay. There we go. That's a little bit easier to deal with. I don't need a huge amount of sensitivity. May I know why I was whitelisted from the server? Because we're preparing for Season 3. Honestly, I'm rarely going to be on. I was thinking I was going to be on for making the floor is lava. It took me a second to get that. But I think I'm going to put that in my back pocket for Season 3. I'm only on to kind of wrap things up as far as streaming goes. And also make one last video of like, hey, we're wrapping up the server for Season 2. See you in Season 3. Nope. Which, I don't remember what I've done. Copper's not going to be in there, right? I have not been active at all. I'm like, I finished my stuff, I'm done. Doing the storage system broke me. You know what? It'd be smart. We're gonna make a couple of these. That would be the smart choice. Yeah, boop. And bop bop. Doink. There we go. That'll do. Yeah, 6. Okay. I got a few minutes before it's nighttime. And Brain had a thought. Oh yeah. I haven't been there's so many sheep. I hope that gets fixed. I don't know why that's ever been a problem. It's been a consistent problem. I don't understand. I'm looking forward to Season 3 though. I still have no idea what I want to do as far as my own project. I'm hoping maybe just exploring and playing some games on my own time will give me some ideas, because that's what it usually does. I think I just need to enjoy some different media and get an idea. Maybe I need to go rewatch Valerian. I think it was because of a mod. I don't know what mod would change that, though. Or what mod would cause animals, because it's not all animals. It's just some animals spawn in huge batches. We had a mod that was supposed to fix it, but it didn't. There's a mob culling mod we had that's supposed to make sure the problem doesn't happen. I'll have to test about it. Part of what's going to be going on for the next couple days while we figure things out and figure out official player base, figure out the start date, see if we bring back, where I want to bring back events and have the first event be we just go kill the Ender Dragon together. Give everybody a month, which should allow for a fair amount of time. I tried Intoxicated Driver. Hell yeah! I need to actually sit down and play that. I need to play a lot of the games I have. I'm adding more to my library because if I see a free game, I'm like, ooh, for me? For me? Oh. For me? And then I just forget about it. Oh, I don't think I've been on my new ADHD meds, and they're fantastic. They actually help me the whole day instead of only part of the day. And the very first thing I did on the very first day of having them is I started spamming the mods of Passion SMP. I started spamming Misty and Pumpkin with everything. I'm like, okay, this for season 3, and then we do this, and then this, and I felt I sent a bunch of paragraphs. I sent a bunch of paragraphs. And of course followed it up with, can you tell I'm on a new med? I can. I didn't say exactly that. I think I typed, can you tell I'm on a new med? But it's been fantastic. I'm loving it. I no longer have the 3 p.m. drop, which was a consistent problem I had, and I'd have to get a little treat, a little bit of dopamine to get me through the rest of the day. AKA, so I wouldn't be a potato for the rest of the day and unable to even play things I want to play. So I don't doom scroll TikTok for 3 hours. What? Looter chest! There's a chest hiding right there. Did I remember? Why is it a looter chest? What? Did I add looter? I don't know. I don't know why it's a looter chest. It's a looter chest. Did I add? What? Okay, I'm not gonna question it too much. No! I'm right. This is a looter server. I forgot. That was this server. I've been playing too much Amalgamation. I have just been playing too much Amalgamation. That's the answer. That is the answer. I don't know my own server. Literally my own server. Oh, it's a snort. It's a cool pottery shirt. I'm gonna keep that. I want to put that in my room. Oh, there's this one. Yeah, it's just emerald, but I'm taking it anyway. Yoink. Goodbye. And might as well just fly. It'll cut some time. Well, not cut some time. It gives me time to talk instead of like, okay, what do we do for the next hour? I still gotta talk over with players. Okay, what all are we interested in doing for season 2? I know for season 3. I know I have the ideas of I would like to add more critters and things for us to do. I would like to add, in general, things to do, more structures. I have a lot of structures to offer in that regard because of Amalgamation. No, maybe, it depends on if they actually move up to the new versions. I would like to do some more building mods. I want to add the rest of macaws because I was really picky when we started adding them. I would like more opportunities for content in general and more things for us to do. It's something that's not like heavy combat, heavy RPGs, not super heavy into the survival aspects, but just something fun to go do. And of course critters. I want to add critters in some shape or form. Probably Alex's mobs. Because I believe that's what would be available as of this version. I know there's another one sitting in the back of my mind that I really like because it has corgis. And I have a feeling Misty would absolutely adore that. Actually, many of the players would adore that. I want corgis. I want Pumpkin. I always name the corgi. I think that I could have, I don't remember what I named him. Oh. Did I literally name him Sugar? In the early iterations of Amalgamation, we had the mod that had the corgis. And I had a sugar glider, and I don't remember what I named him. Oh. What did I name the poor boy? What did I name him? Hold on, what did I name him? Come down here, we're gonna swiftly whoop. What did I name him? The poor thing. I feel so bad. I know I named the other one. It's a baby. Of course. Why is everything here? I literally just wanna look. I just wanna look. What was it named? What were they named? The poor baby. It's been over a year. Should have named the dog Sugar Glider and Stronghold. What did I name you? Was it Vanilla? I feel like it was just Sugar, or it could have been literally named Baby. What was the name of you? Syrup! I named him Sarah. Oh. I knew it was something similar to that. All I could get was sugar. Syrup. Hey, I have a new word for my Wordle. Syrup's perfect, actually. I have a new word. Thank you, Kofi, but I need to remember to change the Nightbot. It's still the same one from February. I need to change that. I want to change about some of the overlays on the stream. Probably get rid of the goal up above and change it so the chat's right above my VTuber at the bottom. Something like that. And then probably move the Kofi goals up or around. Where suspicious. Where? There. A doink doink doink. What? Is that an iron axe? Yes it is. Of course it is. We only really have vanilla stuff to explore, unfortunately. I would love to just have a shit ton of structures everywhere for us to go do. That'd be great. Not so much so there's like nowhere to build. But I would like to be able to go, oh, we can go to this thing or that thing. And I'm gonna have to spend, this is probably what I'm gonna be spending my next week doing, actually. I want to find a seed on whichever version we end up going with that would have a spawn where we're all on the same continent. That would be ideal. Where it's just one full continent that has most of the main wood types, which is going to be interesting, because I would like, if people are okay with it, to add 2 of my favorite biome mods. I'm going to have to be, like, extremely explicit and say about every info dump as much as I can while summarizing. Info dump, but summarize as much as I can about the mods I would like to add for us. I would like to add Nullscape, which is an end overhaul mod. However, it's very annoying to traverse. It is incredibly annoying to traverse. But it makes some fantastic biomes, and they're so cool. I love them so much. I swear the biomes give me cuteness aggression. I adore them. I would also love to add Terralith, which is a fairly popular one. It shouldn't require too much context. For those that don't know by chance, Terralith simply uses the in-game blocks to add, like the normal vanilla blocks that you'd expect, to add in new biomes, like volcanic biomes. So there's going to be really tall mountains that are made out of like black stone and magma, and they're full of lava. They're fantastic. They're so cool. There's Yellowstone as well. And it's one of the ways you can get a bunch of... It offers a lot of ways to get different materials, which I love. I think we've already heard this entire place. Wow, okay. We just gonna run around then. We just gonna run this way. I'm gonna just see what's going on. I wanna see if the new member will be just as crazy as me. Who knows? Oh my frick, the cows! There's another T one I want to add. It's a generation mod. Hold on. Please hold. Please, CurseForge. Why don't I remember the name of this? Oh, hey, it's Pale Garden. Oop. What is the name of this mod? Hold on. Oh, I updated the logo for Amalgamation. I will show that in a moment. What is the name of this? Tectonic! That's what you are. I would love to add Tectonic. It changes the generation, so it's a lot more smooth, but it also offers for much taller worlds and much deeper oceans. It's really cool how it goes about it. So you can have fantastically tall mountains. It's so cool. Let me show real quick before I forget. The new logo for Amalgamation. Because when I was struggling to do any actual editing for it, I'm like, okay, what's something I want to do? I kind of want to change the logo for Amalgamation so I can have that on videos. So what I first did was I got this, which you can find a Minecraft text generator that works through Blockbench. And so it offers, and Blockbench, the way it works, it offers a lot of different ways to do it. I ended up going with this. It is a specific font that it offers, and then I did a gradient. And I took that, and I struggled for a bit of like what I wanted to do as an actual icon, because I didn't want it to just be this. I didn't want it to just be a word logo. I wanted something that kind of defined the mod pack, and at first my brain went to like, oh, it's based off Skyrim, let me do an Ender Dragon, but like the Skyrim symbol. And I'm like, no. This mod pack is built around XP. And so we ended up with these little orbs that I also have as their own separate thing. It originally had like a darker outline, but I ended up just covering that outline with how the gradient would have expanded, which I much prefer. So we got this lovely little thing, and I did try a black outline along all of it. I didn't like that much either. I really didn't. So we got all that. Oh yeah, and then there's the little solo thing I made for when we were doing the hardcore. And I just printed out a little hardcore heart and then made it fit in with the logo. Another thing I want to do coming up, and I want to do a episode by myself of this first, but I want to do a long-term hardcore with an amalgamation, because I think that'd be really fun. Before I do that, I do want to try mine colonies as a challenge with an amalgamation first. I want to double check. We're gonna move up just in case the creaking happens if I'm sitting here AFK too long. I wanted to see, did I do that? Did I do what I think I did? Because I believe there is a new community challenge. Did I start it or did I not? Let me double check that. Because I don't think I started it. Not started yet. Okay. Mine Colonies Amalgamation. I want to do that for certain. So I'm actually going to change that to joke horror amalgamation. And then I'm gonna definitely do the challenge. Joke horror update for amalgamation. So we're just gonna trade the sub goal for a community goal. Save. Start. And while I'm here, let me quickly redo the the viewers bingo. Load, please. You take forever. That'd be great. Thank you. Short. There we go. And I'm just gonna, where is it? In browser sources, let's do doink. And that also lets me take, hey, guess what? Y'all have more room now. I have to go around and change some of the actual chat code in order to get it to what I want and put it down with me down here in the chat, like where I am. Is Pat still in season 3? Pat? Pat. Huh? Do we have a Pat? I do not know who Pat is. We have Platinum Beard. Ocean City. Is this a new one? Yeah, I haven't gone to this one yet. Hold on. I forgot. Oh, Pat Mod. It depends. It really just depends on what we decide we want going on. Maybe, maybe not. I'd much rather be open-minded about what we're willing to do and figure out what we want as our definites and figure out the version that works best for all the mods we want. Preferably a newer version just because of new stuff. I know the baby update's coming out soon, but it's probably going to be a bit before mods update for that. Because we're more modded server, we typically end up trading off the game version in favor of the mods. Oop, there we go. I slowly go out this way. Jeez. I'm finding a lot of... I completely skipped over a village over there. What are those blocks? Oh, they're wildflowers. Okay. I don't know what I'm gonna do next season. I don't know. I might try and revitalize what I attempted to do in season 1 with my first... Technically, it wasn't my first base. Technically, very technically. Very. In season 1, I briefly based where Oops ended up basing later in the season, and then stayed at the Eye of the Storm, and then moved to where my final base ended up being. What my main base for that, my starter base, the Mushroom, the Dirt Palace, what that had been inspired by, I'm tempted to redo that. I might have screenshots, hold on. What inspired that build is a build I did on the PS3 when I was a kid. Let me sit down here for a second and sleep the night away. I've been playing too much Amalgamation. My instincts are screaming at me to kill chickens for levels. Let's pop in another image into here. I'm pretty sure I have a screenshot of this. It'd be under here, I believe. Bedrock screens. There we go, yes. This. It's gonna take a minute. That's what it's gonna be. There we go. This is what inspired my Season 1 build. And I never did anything more than this, but I love the idea behind it, which is just building on a bunch of rooms and seeing whatever the fuck happens. I built the interior and didn't bother with the exterior. I would love to do something like that again. And then figure it out later. I think that'd be fun. We could just do whatever I have on my mind that day. I'm like, I want to build this kind of room. I need this thing. We're gonna pop it over here because I have free room right here. Ooh, I could tie that into Valerian. I want to rewatch Valerian. I'm gonna pull some people in to watch Valerian with me. I swear. Ooh, wait. Cave. Pretty cave. Ooh. Oh. It's a dead-end cave is what it is. I thought you were cool, man. But no, you're a dead end. For those that don't know, I do not blame you. It was a complete fail at the box office, but it is still one of my favorite movies. There's a movie, it's a sci-fi, called Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, I believe. It is based off a comic, so you could probably go find the comic if you prefer doing that. And it is set some odd 100,000 years, not 100 and 1,000, 100 or thousands of years in the future, where a space station started and everybody, all aliens and humans, started congregating in this one spot, and it ended up evolving into one giant place. Hey, there's a thing here. Into one giant place full of, hey, Barry Tristram, full of different cultures and such. It's a really cool movie, and it delves into a little bit of like general corruption and such, corruption amongst authority figures, and just mistakes made, especially when it comes to cultural bases. and mistakes made across, mistakes made going between cultures, or like being nice about other cultures. Or, I guess racism fits in, because it deals with a lot of different interspecies racism, because aliens, which is definitely a placehold or what they want to say. It is a fantastic movie, though. It's fantastic. The CGI is really good. The story plot's great. I couldn't tell you from... That is not an ocean city. That is an ocean temple. That's an ocean city! Okay. I'll go to an ocean temple, though. My brain immediately told me to go into phantom mode. It has been explored. Okay. But it's looter, so it does not matter. I'll take some trims. Like diamonds? I don't need diamonds. I have the diamonds, though. Okay. And we move on. I would like to have Origins in Season 3, too. That would be a good one. But I adore Valerian. I don't go to the movies a lot, especially anymore. They can be kind of overwhelming. I much prefer just waiting for the movie to get out and come back home. Steal that. It's just a lot more fun for me that way. Hello, Wolfie! Hi! How are you? Ooh, that's pretty. I'll take an enchanted golden apple. There's the other side. I think I have that already, though. These aren't nearly as helpful when you're late game. Not so much. We're just running around the server at this point and talking. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do for Season 3, and I'm thinking about rewatching Valerian for some inspiration. The sci-fi movie. Ooh, I could rewatch Fifth Element. Fifth Element's another really good sci-fi movie. Has one of my favorite quotes that or has two of my favorites that I joke back and forth with my family all the time, which would be Chicken and Aziz, light. And Aziz turns on a light. I'm just good. Finished doing a short test stream. Hell yeah. I love sci-fi movies. I love the world building specifically. It's so good. The villain of Fifth Element looks like a fucking joke and I love it. I can't remember. There's like something specific I like to call him. Let's see what we get. It's not a safe spot to do this, really. I guess this is... Sir? Yeah. You done yet? Are you done? Yet, thank you. I don't really have any blocks. Where's the nearest land? I just want to pull up a picture of the funny looking guy. I don't need anything. I don't know what came out here. Where's this go? I can't see because I use a first person model. Do I have up to 6? 6. Facing north? Yes, back that way. Okay. Way over this way. Okay. If I get up high enough, I should be able to do this with enough time to spare. Fifth Element villain. He reminds me of the guy from, what do you mean no internet? Oh. No internet. Oh, no internet? No internet? It'd be really funny if the stream actually heard me say no internet. Alright. I'm very curious how many frames that stuttered. I opened up my browser and I tried to search the Fifth Element villain. And it told me no internet, and then I look at stream and go, oh, I have 0 internet. I have to check the VOD for that one. What is the joke horror amalgamation? I'm just gonna make a joke update where I add a shit ton of horror mods to amalgamation. I think it'd just be funny. Let me... I don't need a WebP. I just want a PNG. JPEG will work, that's fine. The villain reminds me of... Yeah, he uses channel points. The villain kind of reminds me of the short guy from the Lorax. And You Can't Change My Mind. Also, by the way, he has an extremely thick country accent. I don't know why, but he does. And it's the funniest thing, because none of this guy matches. I don't know why this is the hairstyle. Had a sneeze. I don't know why this is the hairstyle that they went for the character. Whether it be the comic book or the movie itself, I don't know. But it's funny as hell. Is interesting to say the least. When is Fifth Element? I know there's an anniversary for it coming up soon because it's an older movie. I saw somebody do really cool fan art for it. 1997, so it's almost 20 years old. When... Oh, it's almost 19 years. It was first released on May 9th, 1999. I almost said 2000, and it was not. But yeah, I just need to go rewatch Fifth Element. I'm going the wrong way. Where do I need to go? I need to go back this way. That's what I need to do. And... Boop. Oop. Somewhere here. Hey! Not bad! I was a tiny bit off. I guess I'm taking the Heart of the Sea. And pop that in there. Cool. Heart of the Sea ain't too... I don't think I've gone a Heart of the Sea this season. Last season I just collected fucking everything I could. This season? Nah. Don't need to. Not even gonna bother. I want different backpacks next season. I want a better backpack mod. Because you can't... I have a hotkey to open backpacks. But it doesn't open the Ender Chest backpack. The hotkey doesn't work with the Ender Chest one. I don't know how far my useful backpacks go, even if we just had sophisticated backpacks. I know the version we're on can have traveler backpacks, but... Am I loading new chunks? A little bit. We're going to explore around. How much do you want to bet I can find a trial chamber? Hold on. Let's do this correctly. There we go. Tick level block entity. There we go. Got chest. What we want to see on that pie chart is a trial spawner. It'll be big in a different color. I'm surprised I'm not seeing one. Oh, there. No, I'm not. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I am wrong. It just took a second to show up. And then we dig down and use good old journey maps to help me find it. We're gonna go down to about -20. That's about where they spawn. I've played way too much of this game. Just to casually have this info dump at any given moment. Why are there so many mobs? That ain't okay. Do you see my map? Why is everyone right here? Okay, I guess. Can't use the rest of my cranberries for the amalgamation. I only have 540 cranberries left. Oh no. I think it has a limit each day. But I do have it up for a month. Let me get rid of that. There we go. Wait, hold on. I have big ham. Or I have little ham. We can use little ham for this. Hold on. Do I? I don't need Little Ham. I'm a liar. I don't need Little Ham. A lot of mobs that do not need to be here, but they are. They are. Oh, something fun. I finally sat down and, instead of editing the video, I did get the video edited today. But a few days ago, instead of editing the video, I edited a bunch of shorts. Can I get to it like this? Can I get to the trial chamber? No, it's perfectly covered. Okay. It's one of those types of generations. Got it. No. No. You just perfectly covered the damn thing, didn't you? Yes. Yes, you did. Why are there two random... Oh, it's a spawner. Just a normal-ass spawner. There we go. I think that should do it. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Rope. I don't need to grab anything. It's literally the end of the season. I don't need this. I can't even throw anything in there. Cool. Grab all of my stuff. How much do I hate myself today? Cause, yeah, I got at least one of each. Yeah, let's do about 5. Yeah, why not? Why not? See if I could get myself a, just a casual little heavy core. That'd be a fun experiment. We get myself a heavy core for the end of the season. Get my first one, I think, this season. Oh, good. I do have my elytra off. Good. Good. I was very worried for Batamome. Oh, I got a head. Nice. I would like... There we go. Do that. I kind of want that right now. Oh, I'm standing in fire. That's why I'm on fire. That'll do it. I don't necessarily need that on me. I do want to grab my golden apples, though, just in caseies. Potato. Are you not spawning? Nope, nope. Not yet. Excuse, sir. 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 Excuse. Come here. No, come here. Get bonked. Thank you. I'd like to do something with a trial chamber next season, too. Like, actually using the spawners themselves. Chicken jockey! It didn't drop the disc. I already have one, though. Yeah, also, but do I need a specific mod pack for the SMP mutation, or do I not? We haven't made the mod pack yet. For Season 3, we have not made the mod pack. Oop, there we go. Bonk. Bloop. Got multiple keys! I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with all of these, because this... Or does this room... I think this room has a key thing? Yes, it does. It's got one right over here. I'm pretty sure I have extra keys as well. Pretty sure. I swore it. Yeah, I have 4. I got 4 keys. Oh my... Okay, I might need to just start running through these so I can use these. Okay, but would I download it? And if so, when and or if it comes out? How? If so, how, when, and or if it comes out? I would give a download link, and then you would just pop that into Modrenth. There we go. So pretty much the exact same as this season. Where? 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 Where am I supposed to go? This is supposed to be the... Where? Is this just not... Oh, it's connected up there. Is it... It's connected up there. Oh, you... Okay. Yep. I miss amalgamation already. No, no, no. No heavy core. Okay. A lot of junk though. Yeah, but no, that's mine. Good. You know, yeah. I'll hoard. I'll just hoard. Thank you, coffee bot. Hui. Yoink. And don't need. Akabunkus, why are you? Oh, you're a stray. I thought you were, I seriously thought y'all were, not Weezer. You were not a Weezer. Breeze! It took me a second. I don't know why I wanted to call them Weezer. It's not a Weezer, it's a Breeze. That is possibly the most interesting name. Like, yeah, you can call them Old Man, you can call them this, you can call them that. I don't know if anybody's accidentally just randomly called the Breeze a Weezer yet. Cause who in their right mind would? Oh, granted, I'm not in my right mind, but... no. It's just steak. Got my fried rice. Nice and buttery. Delicious. There's actually no butter in it. I don't think the mod even adds seasonings to it. I'm just gonna pretend like it's a delicious pork fried rice. There's a very specific one in my mind. To a business that no longer exists. What? Okay. I forgot about that. I forgot that was a thing. I just want to enjoy going around. There we go. Y'all are lagging a little bit. That's okay. Feel free. Spawn on in. Thank you. I understand we're several thousand blocks out. It's fine. I get it. You're allowed to be a little laggy. Where did you go? Joe? Joe. Oh, hello, Joe. Goodbye. Ding. Is that a K? It's steak. Don't you know what's at stake? Oh, you're tiny. It's just a baby. It's just babies. It's just a baby. Isn't it just me or is the model smaller than it usually be? I don't know if that's like some resource pack or something I have. It just looks smaller than I'd expect it to be. Last one. Boink. Potato. Come back for your potatoes. Don't need it. Like half the time I'm like, might as well. And the other half I'm just like, no, never. Don't even think about it. And there is no there is no reasoning. It's just whatever I automatically say in the moment. Boop. Thank you. Hui. Is this the entrance wall? It seems so. I guess I'll keep the diamond. I don't even know if I'm gonna touch this backpack, honestly. I'm kind of just using it to throw everything in. I don't really care about it. I'm gonna be so honest right now. Oh yeah, Summarize coming up, season 3. I would like to at some point do my own personal hardcore series of the like a long-term hardcore within amalgamation. Hey! Nice. Okay. Cool. We did it. Also, I'm gonna do Colony Craft or Mine Colonies challenge with the frickin'... There's one more. Hold on. I got what I wanted, but I'm just gonna... Is there even... I don't even know if... Oh, there is. There is a key over here. Okay. Hold on. We're gonna, like, attempt to ignore... everything happening here. Give me. Nothing useful. Okay, goodbye. Goodbye. I do not care. I do not care. I just wanted to use up some keys, man. I just want to use up them keys. Oop. There you go. Right. Yep. 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 Okay, yep. 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 I don't care. I'll take that, I guess. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. That was funny, but I don't care. Believe it or not, it's not actually all that useful to me. Okay. Boop, boop. All the things organized as they should. Here we go. And is it core? Minecraft. Let me out. How time is? Let me out. Trust. It'll make sense. There we go. And that is how you easily get out of a trial chamber. Now let me double check. I'm actually going towards spawn. Yep. Delicious. I'm gonna try and be recording a lot more too. I'll probably splice in some bits and bobs of this into a video. Tomorrow's video is gonna be the finale of the Hardcore Amalgamation Challenge, which I ended up seriously enjoying. That was so much fun. But blah 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 blah. Depending on how that video does or what goes on with it, I might... Hey, Tills your post there. I might go around and take all 3 videos and just make that into a quick movie that'll probably go onto the second channel. Maybe the main channel, depends on what happens. Oh yeah, I briefly mentioned this earlier, got completely distracted. Instead of editing the other day, I finally sat down and made some shorts, so there's actually going to be shorts for the next month or so. Little fun bits from the last several videos. And then I'll probably... I have shorts until like the 19th of April. It is currently the 21st. I'm gonna... Now that I think about it, it depends on what goes on. Probably not. I got a stream schedule up and going now, which is Saturday and Sunday, 7 PM PST. I don't think we're going to be streaming tomorrow because it is my sister's birthday. So we're going to go celebrate with her. Actually, I might be... I don't know. I have a feeling I'm just going to say no on the streaming so I can focus on, like, birthday and then actually getting stuff going for Season 3. As well as my own things. And then we'll be back Saturday. And if I so deign, then we can do random variety content in the middle of the week. I think that's how it's gonna go. If I so plan it, I might go, hey, Monday we're gonna go do Skyrim, or Thursday I decide we're gonna go do this thing, etc. But otherwise, we're gonna probably keep up to that kind of schedule. And then right now, videos go out at 12 PM on Sundays, PST. And whatever happens, happens elsewise. The hardcore, I ended up having so much footage from this first one that I just went ahead and said, okay, this is going to be a mini-series. I'm just going to do 1 VOD per episode, which I seriously enjoy. That ended up being a whole lot of fun. And is what's making me want to do a hardcore long-term series, because I think that'd be a lot of fun to see how long we could survive within that kind of setting. It'll actually give me time to maybe make some updates in terms of long-term use of the mod pack, because I've only ever done it short-term. Which has certainly been something interesting. I'm looking forward to doing a lot of stuff. And also, I've been doing like heavy streaming for this and trying different ignorable video formats as far as lately PSMP videos have gone. This is actually going to last me until the end of the season. That's funny. I joked about it. It actually is. But I think we're just going to go back to a good old me recording, chilling out, talking around, and enjoying being on the server and being a lot more event focused. I briefly mentioned it earlier. I kind of glossed over it. I'm going to be trying to bring back talking about events and going over and doing events every month on PSMP. Hopefully the first one being we just go fight the dragon together. We'll see what happens. I still don't know what I want to do as far as the base. I really don't. I just know, despite me not finishing everything that I want to do or getting everything that I wanted to get done in this season, I'm still happy with what we've done. Like, most of the builds we're walking around are mine. We have all of this right here is mine. Over there is one of the entrances to my mega base. I just kind of slowly took over the server from underground. And also caused a lot of death to people. Mainly because of my staircases. I think it'd be really silly to do an interior-only build next season, though. I think that'd be really interesting. I never did the temple. Maybe that'll be the end of the server. I can make a joke about, oh, I made the temple to Blowhush, and Blowhush took over the server. There's a giant tidal wave, and it washed everything away. Yada yada. Something like that. The Blowhush will return! But yeah, I think we're gonna pop a squat right here. Very much so a shorter stream. This was only an hour. I did allot time for us to have more. Usually I would have ended at 8 in the past. Right now, with the schedule, and I've made time for this, we're probably gonna have mostly 7 to 9 PM PST time slots. But this was mostly a quick check-in, talk about things, hang out, see what I can get done, see what I could do, see what I want to do. I don't really want to do anything, no. I'm happy with how this is. I can attempt to get it to go up tomorrow on the second channel. It's probably going to end up going up Monday. I do want to still save it. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, honestly. But I think with all that's said and done, that's it. Let me see. I do not currently know anybody streaming. Okay. Then that'll be it. It's just us. Thank you all for joining me. Nope. Let me pop over to this one. So that will actually be it. I'm not sure if that's going to be the last time PSMP will be on stream. It depends on what I ultimately decide we're going to continue doing. I think with all that said and done, that'll be it for today, though. Thank you all for joining me. I'll see you in the